Okay, we're gonna get started pretty soon. I'm pumped. Mark from Katana here. This session is on the power of an integrated tech stack, modern tools for seamless scaling. And we got our friends here at SparkLayer and Shiptheory, Alex and Mark. Thanks for joining us here.
Hey,
How are you
yeah,
guys?
thanks for having
Thanks.
us. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
good,
thanks.
thanks.
The Battle of the Marks, as Alex said.
Only one Alex.
Yeah, only one, only one Alex. But we really do like you, Mark Mickelson. So thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Where are you guys coming in from again?
Well, both
Well,
in the southwest actually, but I'm in Bath in the UK.
yeah, and I'm in Bristol, but it's like 10 miles apart. Really
Nice.
close.
Very,
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah, I'm based in Toronto, Canada. So all friends here. I was going to say we've got people coming in right now. We'll give everybody a minute or two before we get started.
Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a really nice session, more conversational. We've done so many of these before where sometimes it makes a lot of sense. We go through, product, we go through pieces around this, but we really want to make this as practical as possible. So again, we're very excited about this type of format in terms of just open-ended questions, discussion points, and yeah, there's gonna be a lot of good knowledge sharing here. So it's gonna be a good one.
Looking forward to it.
So all of that, yeah, we can get started here. So, in terms of the format for today, first off, just some general housekeeping pieces. There is a chat box available, so at any point, feel free to write any questions or anything that you have any sort of commentary on. We have each members of our independent teams here to answer those questions. Also, feel free to ask some questions at the end. We got some questions already prior to you, so we're going to answer them in real time, and then anything outstanding, we'll do our best to answer at the end or after the presentation on our side too. And we're also going to be taping this, so we will send the video afterwards to the team. Anyone who's joined. In terms of introductions, we're going to start off with that. We'll take about 5-10 minutes, and we'll also go into a little update and overview in case you don't know any of our solution sets around Katana, SparkLayer, and Shiptheory. Then we've got 3 questions that we're going to dive into for the next 25 to 30 minutes or so, and leave some time at the end for some Q&A. And also in between all that, we're going to sum it all up in terms of how everything kind of works nicely together. So with all that, again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. So we'll go into quick introductions around each of us. So I'll start real quick. So my name is Mark Cohen. I lead partnerships here at Katana Cloud Inventory. I've been in the inventory space for about 8 years or so. And in the SaaS space for the last decade plus in partnerships. Love every minute of it. Love how you can leverage an ecosystem to kind of find that suite of products that make the most sense for small, mid-sized, and scaling business owners. So that's me. Alex, on to you next.
Yeah, I'm Alex. I'm the sales director at SparkLayer. So similar to Mark, I've been in e-commerce and partnerships for a better part of a decade now. So makes me feel a little bit old, but I suppose my hairline's a giveaway. So there you go. But yeah, I'm based in the UK as we said before. And SparkLayer is a B2B e-commerce business. And we basically work with 2,000 customers to help with their B2B software. So yeah, really pleased to be joining and proud to be partnered with Katana.
And on to you, Mark.
Hey, everybody. So I'm the other Mark. I am the co-founder at Shiptheory. I've worked in specifically e-commerce space and shipping space since 2008, primarily from a technical point of view. Over the years, built literally hundreds of integrations to hundreds of different platforms. Nothing as good as Katana though. And yeah,
Oh,
thanks for having us.
yeah, no, this is great. And these two fine gentlemen, these were handpicked. We had 50 to choose from, and these were the 2 top of the list. And very excited that you guys could make it out for this. So we're just going to go quickly over overviews around our product, just in case, because there's people coming in, whether it's brands, whether it's partners in each of our networks. So just a little bit about Katana Cloud Inventory. So we do inventory order production management, again, for scaling SMB brands. You're tired of spreadsheets or you're in a too complex solution at that point. That's typically when Katana kind of comes in really nicely, especially if you got some sort of build out or manufacturing element to what you do. And our biggest piece is a lot of customers come in saying, inventory is scary, and we try to make it as scary-less as possible. So we are really easy to use. Majority of customers that come in can implement the system within 6 weeks. And we're global, so we work with 1,500 businesses across the world, and we obviously do a lot. So I think the big piece for us is we always want to make sure it's a good fit, and we're very big on the ROI. So on the right-hand side, you can see a bunch of the statistical pieces that we surveyed our customers for the last 6 months in terms of being able to provide efficiencies and actually being able to leverage data and leverage the things that you do on the day-to-day so that you can actually get real value out of the solution set. And then the last piece is, we try to connect into, we're reinventing what would be called the traditional ERP. So we look to connect into the best in suite products, including SparkLayer and Shiptheory. So that's a little bit about Katana. And now, SparkLayer's next. Alex, on to you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Mark. So yeah, SparkLayer is about 4 or 5 years old as a business now. So we've got about 2,000 customers globally, similar to Katana, really. Customers all over the place, North America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. So really are global in terms of our customer base. We're multi-platform, so we integrate with Shopify, Wix, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, and more. And basically, we add a B2B layer to those websites. So essentially, if you think that you've got a website already that might run on, say, Shopify, then SparkLayer essentially just adds a wholesale layer where wholesale customers can come in, get access to a different price, pay in different ways, and then we've got sales agent functions and things like that. So all of the stuff that you would need to be able to sell to other businesses online. So we've got great integrations with Katana and Shiptheory. Basically just unifies all of the wholesale operations. So it's one tech stack that can basically rule them all. And really one of the things that we can help with is just going live really quickly with that wholesale functionality. So some of our customers have gone live within hours, and days, and get access to our sort of worldwide support as well. We're going to touch a little bit on some of the things that some of our customers have benefited, I think, later on in this as well. But yeah, and in general, some of the greater things that we've seen are increases in AOV by having a really great online wholesale experience, really rapid processes in terms of being able to process orders, and obviously a massive reduction in manual tasks when processing B2B orders by having customers self-serve. So that's what we do.
Cool. And Shiptheory, on to you, Mark.
Yeah, so Shiptheory's been running 10 years now. Wow, nearly 10. Yeah, 10 years.
You still look great, Mark.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm actually 22.
It's actually 62 now.
Yeah, so we similar story, right? Like we've got customers all over the world. They range in sizes and range in complexity. Our specific like USP, I guess, is that we work very closely with stuff like Katana, order management, ERP systems to reduce or remove any potential errors and streamline the shipping process to make it as succinct and as automated as possible, which frees up literal hundreds of hours for people a week. Yeah, and we process something in a region of like 3 million shipments a day. Yeah, customers all over the place.
Very cool. So that's a little bit about our 3 companies. So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So everyone get your coffees, get your espressos, depending on time of day, martinis, whatever it is. But now we're going to get into the heart of it. So we'll start with Alex on the first question. What's the most impactful way you're seeing SMBs drive growth by optimizing their processes with technology?
Yeah, I think when we're talking about optimizing processes, for the most part, you're generally looking at reducing friction. And so that could be friction in the buying journey. It could be friction in the way that the internal process works. But basically, I think in order to understand what is most impactful, every merchant would need to understand what is causing the most friction for their business. And that could be the internal process. It could be the buying journey, right? So it could be one or the other. And that impact might show itself in a couple of different ways. Like it could be missing revenue to lost sales. It could be the opportunity cost of not spending time bogged down in massive processes and being able to put that into more revenue driving activities. So I think just like framing that question in a slightly different way, it kind of allows you to understand like what I'm going to say as an answer when it comes to what's been most impactful.
Mhm.
But in general and in broad strokes, what we've seen is um, allowing B2B customers to be able to purchase online where they previously would have had to call, email, inquire, you know, somehow get a hold of a sales rep in order to be able to process that order. That has had a net positive impact in a multitude of different areas for customers. The first is that it makes it easier for the customer to buy when they're ready to buy. So obviously it brings that experience online. It's 24/7. They can put an order in whenever they want. So that's a crucial part. So they can come back and process an order straight away. The second is that instead of taking valuable person power to simply just process orders, they can manage those in a more automated way, or at the very least, kind of the back and forth with the customer is removed entirely. And so it just takes all of that time that's spent just doing basic admin and allow someone to kind of purpose that time and put it into something else. So not only does that have the net benefit of being able to use that person power to go and find other customers to work with or re-engage those accounts, that could basically lift the entire operation by having, you know, people focused on revenue driving activities. So I think in many ways the most impactful thing that we've seen for SMBs in particular is literally just making it easier for their customers and their employees to make and process orders. That is probably like the kind of broad answer to this question.
That's very interesting. I was gonna say, is there like a moment where someone is there that like what kind of forces someone to start to look at SparkLayer? Like at what level does it kind of
Well,
happen where it's
again,
just
it's
like
like it can be one of those two key ways really, and
mm,
it comes back to like what is causing them the most friction. It's either customers demanding that they need a better online experience and voting with their feet basically and saying I'm going to go to a competitor or just going and shopping with a competitor, and people kind of noticing that that's a trend that's happening because it's hard for them to order with that particular merchant, or it's the internal process has become so lethargic and so kind of like fatigued by, or the internal team have become so fatigued with the process and how long it takes them to actually get an order out of the door, that in many ways that then that they start kicking and screaming and saying there must be a better way. So there's a generational shift that expects online buying to happen. That is absolutely true. But the way that that would show itself to a merchant is losing customers due to, you know, competition having a better website, even customers saying that they want a website and demanding it,
yeah.
or the internal team saying there has to be a better way to process these orders than what we're doing right now because it's taking too long.
Yeah, see on our side, it's interesting because it's similar in the sense that like usually something happens, there's like an issue, and I think like the piece that I see a lot where it's like the most successful companies, they are actually like being proactive. So it's almost as if
Yes.
like they're kind of like seeing like, okay, this is where I need my business to go, and they start to get a sense around it prior to something actually going wrong. Because usually
Yeah.
when it goes wrong, then it becomes the thing, and then you're trying to figure out how do I solve it and doing your research and all that sort of stuff. So usually the impactful piece from our side too is just like if you can kind of nail down the facts, like I need something, and there's things out there that other business owners like me are using
Yeah.
to be able to solve the thing, and actually taking that next step and being like, okay, I gotta actually take action against it versus
Totally.
waiting for it to go through it.
100%.
I was about to say, Mark, what about you? What's what do you think
Yeah,
on this question?
I
Yeah.
think echoing some of what Alex says, it really is different for each business, right? And it depends on. I mean, the most impact I've seen in any customer ever is that are the customers that sit back and take time to sort of log what they're spending time on, where they're weak, find the sort of weak link in the chain from, you know, from if you think of the circle of like marketing through to order for order processing through to fulfillment and then back to remarketing. The I mean, some of the top ones I've seen, some of like on the side to that, once that's as tight as you kind of want, like the next thing is to, you know, move out into a different geography, right? So, you know, if you're in the UK, go to the US, maybe you use like a third party fulfiller to test the waters, and there's loads of tech around that kind of stuff. But assuming you find a weak point, so some of the ones I've seen are crazy. Like I've seen people with like really high shipping volumes with really low margins, and it's like, well, you know, their shipping costs are nearly as expensive as their order values. So make some money on the shipping, right? Like, or add insurances, these kind of things. And then before you know it, somebody who's doing sort of 10,000 orders a month with a average order value of 10 or 20 bucks, you know, they're making an extra $5 on each order. So, you know, make an extra 50 grand a month. There's a lot of, I mean, obviously, sort of hammer everything's a nail, right? So I'm going to give you loads of shipping examples. But
That's okay.
previously to Shiptheory, I mean, I've worked in all sorts of tech along the way. You look at stuff like retargeting through marketing campaigns, putting your like I think looking at underlying stats, right, and understanding what those stats, or at least what the abbreviations are, like you know, like the customers like LTV to you, like what's their lifetime value? How many times does a customer buy from you? Why don't they buy from you again? Is it because the fulfillment process is rubbish, or is it because your marketing is rubbish, or your follow up, or you know, working out what that is and targeting it? And I think to sort of round this off, once you've identified whatever the thing is you think to go after, it's good to do things yourself and to have an understanding, but at some point you need to get people with expertise in, and finding people that have done it before, whether it's like a peer or, you know, like a, you know, a referral from a friend who, you know, knows a guy who did the same thing, or it's through sort of professional agency, then that is probably some of the best money and time you can spend, as long as you vet those people well. There's obviously a lot of snake oil salesmen out there. You find the right person, they can, you know, I mean, obviously we're in a fulfillment side, right? So what happens is people generally come to us a little bit in the too late journey, like, oh, we've just done this promotion and we were just doing like 100 orders a day and now we're doing 10,000. We can't fulfill them. Oh, we need help. And all those stories stem from some sort of marketing play they did. It would have been like, oh, we placed ourselves on, you know, some offer site, or, you know, we ran a coupon code, or we did or got featured in some TikTok video or something like this. And overnight, so, you know, looking at the marketing tech and so that's stuff to do with like attribution of referrals from like influencers, that kind of stuff. There's loads of stuff you could do, but just find people that have done the thing you want, or people that have got experience in it or have seen it, and then ask them if they know somebody who can help.
Yeah, for sure. Good
Yeah,
advice.
yeah, that's really good advice. And we see that a lot on our side too, where depending on comfort or complexity and technical abilities, like we have the ability to implement on our side, but we have a lot of customers coming in that might have advanced needs on their workflows, what have you, and you know, hiring an expert or somebody that can kind of help outside of even what we do to kind of understand change management, understand how you can impact your business and get things going and give confidence, works really well, and we see that very successful with Katana as well. Okay, well, that's the first question. Some really good pieces around it too. But I think a lot of the themes I'm hearing is like it's kind of important just to take that leap and try to be proactive against it, so that you're not like being way too reactive and then kind of missing
Also,
the buck and missing the turn.
Yeah, I think so.
also, if you start, I mean, both me and Alex have said to automate stuff, right? The
Yeah.
second you start automating stuff, there's the negative opinion of this is that, oh, you're automating people out of their jobs, but that's not really generally that's not the case. You tend to like the people you work with. You see value in them. They've got the main knowledge in whatever you're selling. So then they end up doing extra pieces, right? So, you know, you end up freeing up some person in the warehouse,
Yeah,
or some
absolutely.
person in the marketing tech, and then before they know it, they've used their expertise in the warehouse to do this thing they've always wanted to do, but they didn't have the time. And now they're putting in a flyer in with each box, or there's some sort of customized marketing tech, and you've just increased the bottom line by 10%. And all it really cost was like removing a couple of hours from somebody's day, or freeing up a couple of hours in somebody's day, that maybe even being the lowest paid employee in the company, right? But they're the one closest to the grind. They're the one that can see, you know, and giving people in the organization a little bit of freedom. I mean, everybody knows the story of Google, right? Like, you know, in the early days, and probably still now, everybody gets to work on their own projects, and you know, that's how Gmail got invented. Like, doing that in an organizational point of view, yeah, you're gonna get some people that aren't going to do anything, but you'll get some good ideas, and freeing up people, removing stress, sort of enables creativity, enables people to experiment. And that's sort of how you really make, yeah, you can improve profit by 10% or something, but you want to, you know, 10x, you gotta experiment, you gotta test things out, and to do that, you kind of got to free up some time.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. It does come back to particularly with the sales agent side in B2B e-commerce. Like if you've got a sales team and that sales team is completely focused on just taking orders, it's a complete nonsense to have a sales team that are just focused on taking an order, like receiving an order from a customer, because that's one of the easiest things that you can just have them do on their own, right? Self-serving, everybody buys stuff these days, so they don't need to have a salesperson take that order for them, unless it's super complicated and there's a lot of configuration that's needed. But even a lot of times that can be covered on an online experience now. But reusing that effort and reusing that energy to have your sales reps go out and sell to a new customer or find new customers to work with has a massive uplift on the business. So as Mark said, like it isn't just about reducing staff levels to automate. It's that's not the goal of what we're talking about. It's repurposing that energy into more revenue driving, more creative, more exciting projects than just doing the boring manual processes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also hear a lot around if you do these things really well, it's also, if you think about your future hiring, you don't
Yeah,
necessarily have to hire that next person, right? Again, like you guys were both saying, you can also repurpose people, but then you're also thinking about your future, where if you can, like, get smarter on your margins, leverage tech a bit smarter on some things, win with insurance, make some extra money on some things. But then on top of which, your headcount can kind of be looked at differently. It's not about getting rid of people, but it's also, you don't have to hire at the same pace that you might have been hiring before. That also can have a big impact on the bottom line.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That was great. That was just the first question. There's two more to go. Well, let's keep going. Okay. So it kind of ties in a little bit here, but I think like everything else, it's always nice when there's some practical action pieces, like things that people might not be thinking about right now. So thinking about like the strategies that you could be looking at, and if it's in particular, obviously for SMBs, but what are some things this year that you could improve upon to try to get better on your cost side, try to get better on your profitability side? We'll start with Mark actually this time. Let's switch it up.
Switch it up.
Yeah. I know Alex was gearing to go, and I was like, no.
Chomping at the bit, but you go for it, Mark.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and cover all your answers. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Just say
already know
what I
what
was
he's
going to say.
Yeah, we did practice.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, it's sort of, it's tailored to what type of business you are. If you're selling high end or low end, there's all sorts of considerations to be had. But generally, again, it sort of depends on the size of the business. The SMB is so wide, right? Like, and you speak to people in North America versus Europe, small business is a completely different thing. But if we put that in the like very broad terms of say 5 to 50 million or something,
Yeah.
On the higher side, where you can experiment and you can take a little bit higher experiments, looking at the things that people aren't doing and then aiming for those things. So I'm more specifically like around marketing, sort of influencer tech, all that kind of repurposing. Obviously, I'm going to say that automation, like you can automate stuff, and what we've just covered with automating out, labor and improving things. I think one of the things maybe people could do specifically to 2025 is everybody's looking at AI and like, oh, what could AI do? It doesn't take a genius to spend 20 minutes of AI to work out that it has very obvious limits. And I would imagine anybody watching this has spoken to an AI chatbot in the last week or month and got annoyed and been like, God's sake, like, I just put me through to a person. And I think if people run into using the wrong tech or the tech in the wrong way, and get lazy, that's where you're going to end up becoming less profitable. So if you want to maximize profit and you're going to roll out technologies or processes, especially unknown stuff, like roll out in tranches or in small little increments and test things like drastically, especially if we're going to have a big impact on stuff that's not instantly like manifested. For instance, if you take your returns process, right? If you made your returns process all work through AI tomorrow, you'll get loads of reduction in returns, right? Because it'd be really hard to return stuff. So you're thinking, oh, great, we've reduced our returns. This is great. We're making more money. But then you realize the average customer now, they only buy from you once, because the ones that returned are moaning online, and that takes 2, 3 months to filter through the internet, and then people are reading the reviews, and before you know it, you're this sort of pariah that, oh no, don't buy from them. Their returns are horrible. And but in the first 2 weeks, you thought you were smashing it. You thought, oh yeah, this is great. We've So I think being careful of what technology you're putting in, and not just taking things with a sort of blind faith, and yeah, sort of a big sledgehammer to problems, is one. But yeah, and then generally analyzing where you're weak, and then I mean there's a million bits of tech out there, right? Doesn't matter whatever your problem is. There's a technical solution. It's just, do you really need it?
That's fair. Alex, what do you got on your
Yeah,
side?
it was
Yeah.
hard to follow up with
I know.
those points, but yeah, really interesting. I think one area that we've seen a lot of customers test out, in particular, is around their pricing structure, particularly with B2B customers. And obviously, like Mark said, I'm going to come at this from a slightly different lens, but
Yeah.
if we talk in terms of, like, in practical terms, about what a B2B focused e-commerce SMB should consider to maximize profitability, um, it would probably be to ensure that they group their customers to ensure that only those that order the most product get access to the best margins, and also in kind the best payment terms. So, like, again, this is something to test out with your particular kind of customer base. But if you're offering a blanket price list from your most loyal customer to your newest, it doesn't really make any sense. And the same goes for payment terms as well. So, like, allowing a brand new unknown, and I've seen this before with some of the merchants that we've worked with, but allowing a brand new unknown customer to get access to net terms, for example, and pay in 60 days could be a recipe for disaster, because you're going to ship out a load of product, um, and then you have no idea of their propensity to actually pay those bills. You don't know if they're a good payer or a bad payer. You've got no kind of visibility on that. And that can go the other way too, like spending time managing customer specific pricing, which I've also seen. Some of our customers have 5,000 customer specific price lists, right? It's kind of insane. Um, but it can be really time consuming to set up. It can be a time sap in terms of just managing it. It can be a big drain on resources. So, in general, I think my point basically with this is that if you're a B2B e-commerce merchant and you're selling to other businesses, group your customers in some way, either tier one, tier two, tier three, newest, most loyal, the ones that spend the most, the ones that spend the least, however that would be, and then test out having slightly different price lists and different payment methods for those customer groups. And that can really help you to kind of protect your margin, protect your profitability, and just make sure that those who are ordering the most are getting access to the best price. Um, and then in the same vein, the same can be kind of said of things like pack sizing and minimum order quantities for B2B commerce as well. So if you, for example, if you ensure that you only sell to B2B customers in pack sizes, so in the pack sizes you receive your product from your suppliers, it can save you a bunch of time not having to split packs. It makes sure that you're not left over with random singles of products at the end of its life. Same thing with minimum order quantities, just helps make sure you've got enough profit in an order for it to make sense. I actually had a chat with a merchant yesterday, who said that, if someone orders less than £100 with them, they don't make any money on the order. So they were pulling their hair out trying to figure out how they could kind of resolve this issue. Um, but actually, it's super simple. Just put a minimum order value on your order and make sure someone has to order £100. Otherwise, they don't get to make an order. It's as simple as that.
That's really interesting. Yeah, we kind of in the same vein, like it's a little bit more specific to the inventory production side of things. There's a one side of it where kind of hits a bit of it where there's a lot of customers that come in that might be manually trying to figure out their demand forecasting, might be trying to figure out like some of these pieces, and having something in place, even a solution system in place where you create that automation. You think about things like safety stock. You think about things like the channels things are coming from, or expectations around your wholesale orders that are coming
Yeah.
in, or where things are at. Like having something going is pretty important, and a lot of customers think they have something that works, but actually they haven't really kind of pulled that in. So we
Yeah,
see, so we see a lot of customers with that on our side.
totally.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing that we see a lot of with Katana too is it's like your accuracy around your costing methodology, and how you're going about it. So if you're manufacturing your product, understanding, like we use Mac on our side, but understanding like the actual like accurate labor costs, the accurate kind of material costs, everything that kind of gets put into a product, and start to understand the profit margins across the board. And
Yeah,
having again a system or solution around that becomes very impactful, because oftentimes customers don't really realize their profitability on specific products. You know, you kind of think a product's great, but then you start to realize when you like cut into it, you're like, oh, wait a second, like even though the
yeah,
sales great, I'm not actually making a lot of money. And having that knowledge is
absolutely.
important. Yeah.
I think that's super important, and it kind of comes back to what all three of us have talked about. Really, is just like if you understand the cost of that product, then you can understand how much margin you've got to give away to your B2B customers. You can understand, you know, if you need to make additional margin on the shipping and that side of things. So it really kind of ties the whole thing together.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, this is good. Okay. One more. Anything else here? Or I think we,
Ah,
we
I
kind
think
of we
we're,
kind of nailed it. I think we
yeah,
crushed it. Yeah,
we used Mark's sledgehammer on that one, I think.
yeah, I think so. The marks did well. Alex, okay, on to you for this one. Okay. So yeah, going back to real world examples. So yeah, so we've done a lot of talk around strategies, ways to think about things, things that we're seeing in market right now. But it's always good to conceptualize yourself in the shoes of others. So wondering on both your sides, starting with you, Alex, any customer stories that kind of hit home in terms of this efficiency and profitability piece?
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting timing because I just got back from Shop Talk Europe and spent a lot of time with this particular customer who we have a case study with, called Snurk. And they spent a lot of time reducing manual tasks, and managed to kind of reduce them by 50% in terms of how they process their B2B orders. So literally half the amount of time that it takes them to put a B2B order together, which is absolutely huge. And the interesting thing that they saw when they launched their B2B commerce website is that it actually really helped them to re-engage customers that they previously lost contact with. And so when you talk about maximizing profitability, but also increasing efficiency, this is a really good example because not only did they manage to save a bunch of time in processing orders, but then they started to see that increase and that net increase in orders coming in as well, due to the fact that their sales team were able to go out and kind of re-engage with some of these contacts and get onto more sort of revenue driving activities. So I think it's just a really good example of some of the things that we've talked about. And there's various others. I think I kind of hinted at one on that initial intro slides, where we worked with T-Pigs and they saw a 33% increase in average order values as well. So I think it just goes to show that like having a really good, efficient process, like I said, it can kind of help you reduce friction in those two areas, not only just saving time, but also just increasing the amount that people are willing to spend with you and the frequency that they will spend as well.
Cool. And Mark, on your end.
Yeah, so many is the problem. I was just trying to pick a couple. So I'll give a couple of Katana specific ones. So Mine Baseball over in Texas, I think they're in Dallas. So we were there a couple of months ago doing a case study. We got involved with them and Katana because they were trying to, I think they're moving to Katana or they were already using it. They were trying to, remove as much sort of manual stuff as they could. They're not, they're like the fastest growing wood back company in America, apparently, which is cool. And they're sort of maybe doing 3,000 orders or not, maybe something in that region. And they're saving like 1 or 2 minutes on each order is going to save them. I think they said they're saving about 30 hours a week. So over 100 hours a month, which is getting up towards somebody's full-time wage, right? So yeah, you could take that money and save it, or like we said, you can use that to reinvest and repurpose. Or a lot of the times, a lot of these places, the warehouse space is limited. So like we had another customer in, they got 4 warehouses spread over the world. So they got their North America, they got Europe, UK, and maybe Asia. All split out in separate warehouses, but because the big operations like that, they can't just spin up an extra bit of side space. So once they get to capacity on orders or stock, unless everything's running perfectly and they're fulfilling orders very quickly, they can't they can't go and get more business because they won't be able to afford fulfill the orders. So they can't really guarantee they could sort of, pay for new premises or it'd be profitable. So they kind of get stuck in a bit of a hard place. So if you can automate some stuff out and make them a lot of room in their current space, whether that's just stock or just throughput or just reorganizing a warehouse. And I think they were capped out at something like 120,000 orders a month. That's what they were doing across all their premises. And that was about a year ago, and they're up to like 250,000 orders a month now, just
Wow.
doubled. But they just couldn't go and get more customers. They're actually a B2B customer as well. They were not for us specifically, but they're very B2B driven, selling to organizations. And then I'll give you one more, I guess. Oh, a UK one. So
Yeah.
they're a Katana customer. And same story, right? Like they're looking to remove the sort of manual inefficiencies and the errors that come with that. And errors increase brand damage, right? Like, getting the wrong product at the wrong time, can ruin birthdays or whatever. It can really generate vitriol. So yeah, I think again, like, they're saving, somewhere around 100 hours a month. You're talking, 20, 30 grand a year in salary just repurposed in something useful, whether it's stock or, expansion. So
Yeah, those are like all great examples. And I was going to say, because I think we sum it up nicely kind of towards the end of this piece here too. When we think about all these use cases and examples, uh, again, a lot of it still does come back to like kind of figuring out how you operate and figuring out like how can I integrate this tech stack that makes sense for my business. And I think today we've definitely shown this. So I think whether it's on the front end sides, how sales orders are coming through and how you're managing those orders. So if you are a natural B2B business, or you're starting to do a little bit of it because you've been doing e-com, you need that system of record and using something like SparkLayer in there, and then having a system of record to managing the inventory and order side of things, and then being able to leverage everything that's great around Shiptheory. So whether it's automations, shipping labels, return management, all the good stuff, and pulling it all together into one seamless ecosystem approach, and centralizing everything. That's basically the three elements that come together nicely between our three solution sets. So with all that, we have questions. So I had a couple questions previously from some people attending and some that could not attend. I guess the first one is just around getting started. So I kind of went through it a little bit on the Katana side, but maybe Alex, Mark, whoever wants to start. How long does it take to get started with each of your products?
It could be a couple of hours, could be a couple of weeks. Really depends on the complexity of the project. But yeah, I mean, for us, like, it's super straightforward to get going. We just drop a couple of code snippets on the site, and you can test it out. So usually within 24 hours you can have something working.
And yourself, Mark?
I think, sorry, I think somebody behind the scenes is saying, anybody's got any questions, write them in the chat. We're supposed to say that. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, oh, I forgot what the question was because I'm asking.
How quickly can you get set up with
I
Shiptheory?
did too, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's similar, right? That in all reality, the sort of types of business we target and the sort of critical point we are, most people want to test and do it and roll out and that kind of thing. And those typically are going to be like 2 weeks from the go. But we had one the other week come to us, absolutely in a mess. Similar thing to what I was saying before, where they've run a promotion, everything's gone haywire. They're now going to be looking bad to all these new customers they've just gone and spent money acquiring. And one of the guys there, I mean, they were a good customer for us, right? They were exactly where we want to be. So dropped everything, got into it and had them up and running within sort of 8 hours, which is, they were a large organization, sort of doing 40 million a year in revenue from 2 sites. So yeah, you can get up and running. If you're in a smaller site, you're doing one site and a couple of carriers and a couple of channels or just Katana plugged in. You could be up and running in an hour and give us a ring. We can talk you through it on the phone. It's not a big deal.
That's great. Yeah, and then again, this is a reminder on our side. like we've had projects where within a week or two, we can easily get you started if motivated and if you have clean data. But on average, it's 4 to 6 weeks. And just for context wise, most inventory or ERP systems, it's at least 3, 6, 12 months. So we're really big on, creating a very fluid process for onboarding, working well with our partners to support additional needs. And that's basically the piece on our side in terms of getting started. And then I guess the other piece that was asked was just, do you have to be a techie? So you guys kind of answered it, but like basically if you have no, kind of technical acumen and you're just like, I've been pen and paper my whole life and now I need to, kind of figure out this whole streamlining piece. Do you need to be very technical to get started with either solution or train up your staff, I guess, on either solution?
Not especially from our point of view. We've got a team on in-house that can help kind of get the initial pieces sort of set up for you once you get going. So yeah, not particularly technical from our perspective. Albeit you need to be able to use a piece of software ongoing, but yeah, I wouldn't describe it as technical.
Fair.
On our side, no, not at all. Like, to be fair, the more technical you are, the more of a pain you're going to be. Like, you're going to try and mess up with
You
things.
tell people
Um,
that.
yeah. Like, well, obviously in our world we've got printers to deal with and all this kind of stuff. So there'd be somebody, within the companies that are doing that side of things. But it is very, very process driven. We've got a full onboarding process. We understand how their warehouse work, how they look like, when and how they ship their orders out and how they're fulfilling them. And then we test it with them because a lot of our customers use it headless, right? Like from Katana, they'd be clicking a button and then 10 seconds or a couple of seconds later, a label pops out of the printer. They've not had to do anything. Like once it's configured, which we do for them as part of the onboarding, there's nothing technical. If there's ever an issue like a label didn't come out of the printer, obviously maybe check is turned on. But if you want, just ring us up and we'll tell you, no, that printer's turned off. So yeah, it is good if you're not technical. If you just want a business solution to this like specific case, that's the sort of thing that we're particularly good at. And then like during the onboarding, a lot of the time people come to us for the minimum they want. Like they just want to increase the speed, but further on there'd be things they think aren't quite right. They'd be like, is there a better carrier we could use, or is there some sort of better process? But once you've earned the trust and sort of proven your ability to deliver on the thing you said, the minimum piece, much more interested in, well, what else can we do? What other things do retailers that look like us do? Like, is there anything we should be doing? And again, that's more just a business point of view, right? Like, what sort of process should we put in place, and we can advise and help.
Cool. Yeah, and on our side too, we have a very structured onboarding process. So it's again during that 4 to 6 week process, we have like almost like micro steps, so we make it less tricky to feel like you can kind of like make progress on a week to week basis. So we definitely are in there to try to make it as simple as possible. And you definitely don't need to be technical to get started on our side either.
Awesome.
Cool. I think that's it. So for everyone else here, you're allowed to have more than one demo. It's not saying before choose your own adventure, but feel free to scan in. But we'll also send an email afterwards with all of our details. So if you have questions or you want to learn more. But I was going to say, most importantly, I just want to give a big thank you to Alex, to Mark, and I thought there was like amazing insights today, things that are practical and things that can be leveraged. And again, really appreciate your time and coming in here.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Thanks to all the guys running around in the back, sorting it all out as well.
Yeah.
It's always the behind the scenes.
Young fun
big thanks to the team.
Yes, for sure. Thank you, and enjoy, I guess, the rest of your afternoons. And thank you again for everyone else for coming out today. Really appreciate it.
Cheers,
Bye, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.